Hello and welcome. Today I want to take you through how you can easily install an ERPNext version 16 instance so that you can test it out. So we are going to do this using Docker. As a person that also believes in ease, we shall see the easy way of installing ERPNext version 16. So the first thing you need to do this is you need a docker-compose.yml file. So this file is going to help you kickstart your containers using the services that you've described here. So all these services that you're seeing in this docker compose.yml file are all describing the containers that are going to run when you kickstart this Docker instance. So this is just a definition. We are going to go through each service and you see what it does so that it can help us understand how this is easily installing our ERPNext instance. So in Docker, a service is like a definition of the containers that Docker will run. So in this list, we have different services. The first service here is called Backend. Under it, you can see some things like image, deploy, volumes. So this backend runs the main ERPNext or Frappe application, which I can call the brain. So I can call this the brain of our ERPNext instance. So this is the main ERPNext application. It does the logic, it talks to the database, it answers the requests. All these things are done within this backend container, which has the Frappe ERPNext like image. So all these services that you're seeing here, all these containers that you're seeing here, work together to make sure that our ERPNext site comes to life. So you can see most of them have volumes which are the same. So meaning they are all using these same volumes to run the application. Then you can see this one, all these volumes you can see are the same. So they are all these services are going to be using similar volumes to make sure that our site is running properly. So let's continue. That is the back end. So this back end will help us install these. So then we go to the configurator. This runs once, first of all, when we start everything. So it writes the configuration file that tells all the services where the database and Redis are. So as you can see, we have some commands here. These commands run and help us configure uh, the, the configuration file, which contains where the Redis is going to run, the database is going to run, and our Redis. It shows us where it helps create that configuration file, which shows the rest of the services where the Redis and the database configurations are. So you can see after all this, it also uses these volumes to store that. Then we go to the create site part. So on the create site, this waits for the DB and Redis, then either creates the local site or just sets it as default if the site is already existing. So as you can see these commands here are doing exactly that. They come check whether the site is existing. If it does exist, it will run the site and also add install ERPNext to the site as you can see this last command. But if it's not existing, it will create the site and also do the same. It will then also install the app, the ERPNext app afterwards. So that is the create site. Now let's continue to the DB. So this DB helps us kickstart our database. That is our MariaDB version 10.6 database. This is a version that's compatible currently to ERPNext version 16. And again, this health check here helps us to check that the database is really ready before other services depend on it. So this health check makes sure that our database is running, and then it helps us check that it's running so that all the other services can check that before they can run, depending like on this database that's being created by this service. So the other one is the front end. So this is the front facing This uses Nginx. It runs Nginx as the only public entry point to receive browser requests and forwards them to a backend, or yes, and it forwards them to the backend. So this is the front door of the application. It's the only service that is exposed to the outside. As you can see, first of all, you can see it has ports. These are the ports that our uh, application is going to be exposed to through. So this front end service is the one which is going to help us uh, set up this front end so that requests can be routed to this front end and then go on to reach the server, like to reach the database and also the back end. So generally, this will kickstart a localhost, a, a localhost, a localhost, what is that called? So it will help us start our, okay, it will help us serve our application on HTTP slash localhost 8080. So when you go to that route, you'll be able to see to access our application. So then the next service we have QLong. This runs the long background jobs. So those heavy jobs that, for example, when you're trying to export or import big reports, when you're trying to do data imports, all those things, all those big jobs are taken up by this QLong. Then QShort does the opposite of QLong. It takes up short background jobs like emails, small updates, things like that. Then this is like a small or fast database used to only for the job queues. So generally, when the app wants to run something in the background, it puts the job here in this Redis queue. So this is like a small database. So it puts the job here. So after putting the job here, the the queue workers, that is the queue long and the queue short that we've just defined here, queue long and the queue short, read from here and then run the jobs. Read from the Redis queue and then they run the jobs. So then we have so this provides the cache and the session storage. So this is another Redis instance which is used for caching and keeping sessions. So it helps the app respond faster and keeps your login session active. So its data is stored in this volume, so that it can help us keep our sessions and our data while we are in a session. Then we have this scheduler. I can explain this like a timer, and it runs on a given schedule, and it triggers tasks that should run within that schedule. So it itself doesn't run the tasks, but adds them to the job queue, and the queue workers run the tasks. So ideally, this helps us in scheduling. So this is another container that helps us in scheduling. Then we have WebSocket. So this handles like the WebSocket. This handles like the real time features. For example, when someone else edits a form, for example, you're using the same site and someone else edits the form, then when you see the changes real time on this site, this WebSocket is the one which is running and making those changes available to you in real time. So this is also important to us. Finally, we have the volumes. These are like, for example, let me say they're like disks which we give to the containers. So they kind of store data and help our application keep running properly. So that is it to explain just an overview of what is going on in this file. But when like after creating this docker-compose.yml file, you just need to do a few things afterwards. So I added some comments here. You just need to start your terminal. Currently, we are in the ERPNext folder, which is this one, but we want to enter into ERPNext Docker folder. So we say cd ERPNext Docker. So when you save this, you can see that this is the one which has our Docker Compose ERPNext version 16.yml file. So now just come and copy this. This is going to help us run our services to create our containers. Our services are the definitions of what our containers are and what we'll be running inside our containers. So paste it there in terminal and click enter. When you click enter, this is our Docker. So you can see some things will start changing. So as you can see, these jobs are going to start running. As you can see, they are running. Some jobs will run at once and they will stop. Now, like this configurator and this create site, they will run once and they will stop because their job will be done. The configurator, remember, it gets the file, it creates our configuration file and stores it in our volumes. And also this create site creates that like our site and also adds our ERPNext instance to it. So as you can see, some of these are started running. That database should run before some of other, like some other things. Now you see front end has not yet run, but this database is running and schedulers they first have to run so that then the front end can feed off them. So let's just give it a minute, then we shall come back and we see the result. Hello, so our containers have started successfully. As you can see, they have been created and started. And when you come to our Docker desktop, you can see the running containers that are still running. As I had told you at first, the configurator will come, create a configuration file and store that configuration file in our volumes, and then for it will stop. Afterwards, this create site will also come and also create our site if it does not exist. If it exists already, it will create it. If it exists already, it will just install ERPNext onto it. If it does not, it will create a site and also install ERPNext on it. As you can see, our containers are running. Now, the last thing we have to know, when you look at our front end, as I told you that for it's the one that gives us access to our application from the outside. So how does it do that? It will run our site on localhost port 8080. So when you click here, you are most probably going to build it to that uh, point of contact of our application. So when you click here, it will take you to our site. So this is our site. So let's just reload. When we load, you can see our site has been created, but most of the assets have not yet been loaded properly. So we just need to find out why, and then we shall come back. Hello, so our assets were not loading up properly, but now we've gotten to fix them. As you can see, the site has been loaded. So this is our ERPNext version 16 site. So I am going to attach this docker-compose.yml file for you in the description so that you can access it. And you have added some changes so that whenever our site or our Docker container start, our assets are loaded properly. So I've done some changes, and you'll be able to have this file and run it on your side. Most of the things have been here so that most of our assets run very well. So as you can see, this is our site. You can come and choose whatever you want. Then you click next, and you can choose, for example, say straight let see next. Company name, generate some demo data, setup. So this is our site setting up. So our site has fully set up. You can see there is a big change from ERPNext version 15 to ERPNext version 16. This is currently how the home dashboard looks. So when you click, for example, and you go to, so they have made everything more modular, not more modular, but okay. So as you can see, we have this accounting, we have assets, buying, manufacturing projects, quality, selling, stock, subcontract, then ERPNext settings. So if you click on any of this, it will take you to it will give you more details about that module. And when you go to here and you come back to website, it will take you back to where you were, this place. But ideally, you don't need to click on website. You can just click here and you can change any, and you can go to any module that you want. For example, you want to go to a buying module, and click there. You want to access the manufacturing module, you can click there. You want to access other modules like stock, so these are the different changes they have done, and you can see the interface looks a little bit, not a little bit, looks a little bit better. It looks much more better than version 15, as many people were having, were not loving that version 16 black and white thing, but now there is a lot more some blue to come in, so they have added some blue and things look a little bit better. And this sidebar and things, we shall have a bigger video comparing the changes between ERPNext 15 and ERPNext version 16. But you can see most of the things are the same. As you can see the settings, you can go there and all the settings are being put together, and you can see all those other things. So ideally, if who is only into the buying of the company, you can just access buying and you have everything about buying. You can have its dashboard, you can have all those things in one area. That is it. Thank you.